Have you ever noticed how the people who cause the most pain are often the calmest in the room? They don't shout. They don't storm in. They smile, they charm, and slowly, they undo you. But here's the truth the Stoics knew long ago: the real danger isn't the noise. It's the quiet erosion of your peace, when you're not paying attention. Have you ever found yourself wondering how certain people, those who lie, manipulate, and exhaust you emotionally, seem to slip through life untouched, unchallenged? Why do they always manage to sneak past your defenses and disturb your peace without ever seeming to break a rule? Here's a hard truth: darkness doesn't always knock on the door with a warning. Sometimes, it walks right in, smiling. Sometimes, it sits beside you, quietly draining your energy, unraveling your strength thread by thread. And the worst part? It doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't need to. But the Stoics understood something crucial, something powerful. No one can steal your inner calm unless you give them permission. And once sharpened, wisdom becomes your best shield. You don't need to shout to be strong. You don't need to mirror their aggression. What you truly need is clarity, strategy, and above all, self-control. You need to rise, not in rage, but in stillness. You need to defend yourself not with fury, but with deep, calm understanding. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through 8 powerful Stoic tactics that will help you navigate through the emotional shadows people cast around you. These aren't tactics for destruction. They're tools for protection of your time, your energy, and your soul. So stay with me, because your peace is far more valuable than their chaos. Tactic number 1: master the art of silence. In today's world, where everyone is racing to react, silence has become a rare and deeply misunderstood weapon. But the Stoics knew something we often forget. True power isn't found in your ability to argue. It lies in what you choose to leave unsaid. When used with intention, silence isn't weakness. It's presence. It's control. It's the kind of control that makes chaos tremble. People who thrive on manipulation feed on drama. They poke at your insecurities. They insult you, test your patience, and wait, for one thing: your reaction. Because the moment you explode, the moment you defend or over-explain, they win. That's their goal. But what happens when you give them nothing? No expression. No reaction. Just calm. Just silence. You strip away their power. You hold up a mirror to their noise, and all they see is their own emptiness reflected back. In that moment, silence becomes more than absence. It becomes your sword and your shield. The Stoics believed that real strength begins with restraint. Marcus Aurelius said it best: you always have the option of having no opinion. That doesn't mean you're blind to what's happening. It means you've chosen not to give every emotional ripple the privilege of a response. Now, let's take this wisdom deeper, because tactic number 2 will show you how to protect your boundaries before they're even tested. We just explored the quiet power of silence, how it disarms chaos without ever raising your voice. Now, let's take that stillness one step further, by choosing not just how to respond, but whether to respond at all. You always have a choice. You choose your battles. And often, the most strategic battle is the one you never enter. When someone disrespects you and you respond with calm silence, it's not weakness. It's not retreat. It's a firm, unshakable stance that says, I am not available for your drama. This kind of silence isn't passive or timid. It's intentional. It's a conscious decision to protect your energy and your dignity. Because not every insult deserves a reply. Not every spark deserves your fire. And when you remain composed, when your expression stays calm and your spirit undisturbed, something fascinating happens. The person trying to provoke you begins to lose their grip. Why? Because manipulation only works when it gets a reaction. But how do you twist words that were never spoken? Your silence becomes a mirror, one they cannot control. And that mirror forces them to face their own noise. That's why it terrifies them. There's a deeper reason the Stoics placed such high value on silence. It's not just a weapon against others, it's a tool for clarity within. Silence cuts through the static of the world. It sharpens your mind. It reveals who's really trying to pull your strings and who you've become in the process. In silence, you rise above petty provocations. You see things clearly. And from that grounded place, if you ever do choose to respond, your words will be powerful, not because they're loud, but because they come from a place of calm certainty. So next time someone tries to bait you into conflict, pause. Breathe. Remember this, your silence is not surrender. It is strength refusing to be hijacked. Let your stillness speak. Let your peace confuse them. Because the most profound message you can send doesn't require a single word. Tactic number 2, set unbreakable boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep love out. They are the framework that holds your self-respect together. The Stoics understood this deeply. Setting boundaries isn't about rejection, it's about protection. It's about honoring what is sacred in your life, your peace, your clarity, your values. A life without boundaries is a life at the mercy of every demand, every opinion, every mood that doesn't belong to you. You become a leaf in the wind, tossed, twisted, drained. But when you draw the line, clearly, calmly, you're making a statement. This is where I end. And chaos does not begin. That isn't arrogance. That's wisdom in action. And toxic people? They hate boundaries. They'll test them. They'll twist them. They'll try to guilt you into giving in. Because boundaries dismantle their control. But the moment you stand firm, not with anger, but with quiet conviction, you awaken a strength they cannot touch. A strength built not on resistance, but on self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Boundaries are how we color our lives with intention. They define what shapes us, and what we refuse to let shape us. Now that you understand the power of boundaries, what happens when someone crosses them again and again, subtly, manipulatively? That's where tactic 3 comes in. We've just explored how setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. But here's the truth most people overlook: a boundary only holds power if you're willing to stand by it, especially when it's tested. Understand this, a true boundary isn't drawn in sand. It's carved into stone. It doesn't shift with guilt, or fear, or the emotional storms of others. And make no mistake, those who once benefited from your lack of boundaries won't celebrate your growth. Toxic people will call you cold. They'll say you've changed. That you're selfish. Cruel even. But clarity is not cruelty. It's self-preservation. It's maturity. When you say, "I am no longer available to be drained," what you're really saying is, "I no longer play the role you cast me in. I belong to myself now." And that doesn't just apply to how you treat others, it applies to how you treat yourself. Because some of the most painful boundary violations don't come from the outside. They come from within. From the part of you that's afraid to disappoint others. That still craves approval. That whispers, "Just give them one more chance." But Stoicism teaches us that discipline isn't about punishment, it's about freedom. The freedom to hold yourself to your own standard, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because when you do, you step into real power. And yes, living this way will cost you people. Some will walk away. But the ones who leave, they were never really there to love you. They were there to use you. And the ones who remain, who stay when you speak your truth, who don't flinch at your boundaries, they are the ones who see your worth clearly. Boundaries don't just teach the world how to treat you. They teach you how to honor yourself. And when you do that, when you live with firm lines, calm strength, and unwavering standards, you're not shutting people out. You're opening space. Space for those who don't test your worth, but reflect it. Who meet you with respect, not resistance. That kind of life. That is a reclaimed life. That is strength. That is power. Tactic number 3, refuse to play their games. Now let's talk about something equally critical, refusing to step onto the chessboard toxic people set up just for you. These people aren't seeking peace. They're seeking control. And they don't always come at you directly. They play subtle, psychological games, blame shifting, guilt tripping, gaslighting, or cloaking cruelty as concern. Here's what they want: for you to react. To get pulled into their emotional maze. Because the moment you try to explain, defend, or justify yourself, you've entered their arena. And in their arena, they've already rigged the rules. You've lost the moment you stepped in. But you don't have to play. The strongest move you can make? Stand still. Look them in the eye, not with rage, not with fear, but with calm clarity. Let your silence say, "I see through you. And I do not accept the invitation." That is Stoic strength. Not about winning arguments, but about refusing to enter battles that cost your peace. You don't need their approval. You don't need to chase their version of truth. Because the chase is the trap. And in the next part, we'll uncover exactly how to guard your energy when manipulation turns emotional, how to remain grounded even when the storm targets your heart. Previously, we uncovered the truth about emotional traps. Toxic people play games to lure you into chaos. But there's one thing they fear most: your calm refusal to play along. They want you flustered. Desperate. Reacting. Because your reaction gives them validation. It gives their chaos meaning. But when you remain composed, when you stay centered, steady, untouchable, you strip them of their illusion of control. You send a message without saying a word: my peace is not up for negotiation. This isn't passivity. It's not avoidance. It's a quiet act of inner dominance. And yes, it takes serious discipline. Because these people know exactly what to say to trigger you. They accuse you of things you never did. They twist the truth so skillfully that you'll want to scream just to feel heard. But remember, truth doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It stands. It exists with or without approval. Their manipulation only works if you accept the invitation. Their game only continues if you agree to the rules. But when you step outside of their framework, when you stop explaining yourself to people who never intended to understand you, something powerful happens. You win. Not in their eyes, perhaps. But in the one place that matters, within yourself. Refusing to engage is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is emotional clarity. It's the decision to stay dry in someone else's storm. So let them accuse. Let them twist. Let them spin their stories. That is their chaos, not yours. You owe them nothing. You don't need to correct what they've broken. You don't need to pour your precious energy into battles that don't deserve it. Your silence. That's not surrender. It's liberation. So next time someone throws emotional bait your way, pause. Breathe. Remind yourself, I don't owe a reaction. I don't have to prove anything. I do not play games with people who mistake cruelty for connection. That decision, to not engage, is a quiet revolution. One that frees you entirely. Because in that moment, you're no longer a pawn in their game. You're the one who walks away from the board altogether. Tactic number 4, turn their negativity into fuel. Now let's flip the script, because when someone tries to bring you down, they're giving you a choice. You can either internalize their bitterness and let it define you, or you can transform it into power. You can turn insult into insight. Doubt into determination. Pain into purpose. And this is where Stoicism offers one of its deepest truths: you cannot always control what comes your way. But you can control how you respond, and how you alchemize it. Negativity is energy. And like all energy, it can be transformed. The hateful words, the subtle sabotage, the quiet attempts to break you, they don't have to poison you. They can fuel you. Toxic people feed on your reaction. They want you small. They want you broken. Because if they can make you feel less, they get to feel like more. But every time they throw darkness at you, you have a decision: will this weigh me down, or will I use it to rise? In the next section, we'll explore exactly how to channel that energy into personal growth, and why the Stoic mindset makes you unstoppable, even in the face of sabotage. We just uncovered how to alchemize negativity into strength, how to turn every insult, every ounce of doubt, into fuel. But what exactly do you do with that fuel? You use it to sharpen your discipline. When they disrespect you, let it be the spark that deepens your self-respect. When they doubt you, let it become the pressure that drives your focus further, that hones your purpose like a blade. Because nothing unsettles a toxic person more than someone who refuses to be broken. And let's not sugarcoat it, it's not easy. It takes tremendous strength to stand in the middle of a storm and not let a single drop soak into your soul. It takes quiet courage to hear their ridicule, feel the sting of their mockery, and still keep moving forward, without shouting back, without explaining yourself, without losing your ground. But that's where real strength is born. Not in times of ease, but in the fire of adversity. It's forged when life isn't fair, when people are cruel, and you rise anyway. Marcus Aurelius taught us this: the obstacle is the way. The insult? That becomes your teacher. The hatred? It transforms into your fuel. The resistance? That's the very reason you grow. So when they come for you again, mocking your dreams, doubting your worth, trying to pull you down with their bitterness, don't meet them with rage. Meet them with results. Let your progress be the only reply they get. Let your peace be your protest. Let your life itself stand as the proof that you were never defined by their judgment. You never needed their approval to thrive. And the moment you realize that, something incredible happens. You don't just rise above them, you become an example. A quiet force of strength for others who have been bruised by the same cruelty. Because when you turn their poison into fuel, you don't just become untouchable. You become unstoppable. And not by becoming cold or bitter like them, but by becoming everything they feared you could be: clear, focused, and filled with purpose. Their hate will fade. But your fire? That remains. That is the Stoic way. That is how you rise. Tactic number 5, guard your mind like a fortress. Now, with your fire lit, you must protect the source that feeds it, your mindset. Because your mindset is more than just a mood or mental state. It's your fortress. It protects your peace. It shields your clarity. It sustains your ability to endure, no matter what or who you're up against. When you're surrounded by manipulative or toxic individuals, guarding your mindset isn't just a good habit, it becomes an act of survival. Because if they can breach your thoughts, they don't need to control your actions, they've already captured the command center. And these people? They don't always attack with obvious weapons. No. They come quietly. With whispers. With subtle jabs. You're not enough. You're pretending. You'll never make it. They plant seeds of doubt, hoping you'll water them yourself. In the next section, we'll break down exactly how to defend your mental fortress, and why mastering this internal gatekeeping is one of the greatest powers a Stoic can wield. Previously, we talked about guarding your mind like a fortress, because once your mindset is strong, no chaos can enter without your permission. But here's what makes that even more important. Toxic people don't need to break you all at once. They don't come crashing through the gates. All they need is a crack. A moment of hesitation. A single opening in your confidence. And once they find it, their words begin to rot from the inside out. Their negativity spreads like smoke in a sealed room. And slowly, quietly, your clarity starts to fade. That's why your mind must be defended as fiercely as a Stoic defends virtue, with no compromise. You can't control what others say about you. But you have absolute control over what you accept as truth. You don't have to carry every opinion. You don't have to internalize every careless critique. You are not a vessel for someone else's poison. You are the gatekeeper of your own mental world. Guard it wisely. Refuse entry to any thought that chips away at your worth. Close the door on every narrative that shrinks your confidence or clouds your sense of purpose. Not every voice deserves to echo in your mind. Not every insult deserves reflection. And certainly, not every opinion deserves volume. This isn't about ignoring reality. Stoicism doesn't ask you to pretend that life is soft. It teaches you to remain sharp within the hardness. It's not about escapism, it's preparation. It's not about being untouched by pain, it's about refusing to let pain define your identity. You don't avoid difficulty. You meet it, anchored in discipline. And how do you do that? You feed your mind with what strengthens it. Truth. Principles. Silence. Wisdom. You build mental muscle by being intentional with what you allow in, books, conversations, even your own thoughts. What enters your mind becomes what shapes your character. So if you don't choose what fills your thoughts, someone else will. Be deliberate. Be selective. Be ruthless if you must. Ask yourself, does this serve my peace? Does this strengthen my focus? Does this move me toward clarity? If the answer is no, release it. Let it go. Let it fall away. Toxic people may try to tear you down. But if your mindset is fortified, if your inner world is protected, they will never succeed. Because once your thoughts are under your command, the world outside loses its power to define your worth. That's the quiet strength of the Stoic, calm, grounded, and unshaken. Protect your mind, and you protect everything. Tactic number 6, forgive, but never forget the lesson. Now, even with all the protection in the world, wounds still happen. Words still cut. Trust still breaks. And that's where forgiveness comes in, not as surrender, but as strategy. Forgiveness isn't the eraser of pain. It doesn't pretend the wound never existed. It's not about brushing betrayal under the rug. Forgiveness is the conscious decision to unchain yourself from bitterness without giving up the wisdom that pain taught you. It's not weakness. It's not softness. In the Stoic tradition, forgiveness is strength. It's clarity in motion. Because the people who hurt you, they want you angry. They want you stuck in resentment. But when you choose to let go of that weight, you rise in a way they never expected. We've just explored the Stoic strength of forgiveness, not as weakness, but as liberation. But here's the deeper truth, those who hurt you often want their actions to echo in your mind. They want the damage to linger. They want to fracture your peace long after they've walked away. But when you forgive, truly forgive, you deny them that power. You reclaim your emotional clarity. You walk away not because they are worthy of that release, but because you are. You deserve the freedom that comes from no longer carrying their weight. Still, don't confuse forgiveness with forgetting. Letting go of bitterness doesn't mean letting someone walk back into your life with the same dagger. Forgiveness is the liberation of the spirit. Forgetting, however, is the forfeiting of hard-earned wisdom. You must hold on to what the experience revealed, about trust, about boundaries, about human behavior. That memory isn't a burden. It's a compass. It points to who they really are and reminds you how your future must evolve because of what you've endured. To forgive without forgetting is to carry your wound with dignity. It's saying, yes, this happened. Yes, it hurt. But no, it will not define me. You release the resentment. But you carry the lesson. Because wisdom lives in that sacred space, between remembering the pain and choosing not to let it twist your character. This is how you remain open to life while refusing to be reckless with your peace. True forgiveness takes strength, the kind that doesn't flinch from truth. You don't hide from the anger. You sit with it. You examine it. And then, you let it go. Not because it evaporates, but because it no longer gets to control your inner world. That is Stoic discipline. That is emotional sovereignty. And when you forgive without forgetting, you become the one thing toxic people will never understand: free. Free from their influence. Free from the illusion of control. Free from the prison of revenge. Free to walk forward with sharper boundaries, clearer eyes, and a lighter heart. Forgiveness is your release. Memory is your armor. Carry both, gracefully. Let them refine you, not define you. Use them to become wiser, more grounded, and more untouchable than you've ever been. Because forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. It's the fire that burns away what no longer belongs and the light that shows the way ahead. Forgive. Let go. But never forget what shaped you. That's how you protect your soul. That's how you rise. Tactic number 7, live boldly. Without apology. Because life is too fleeting, too sacred, and far too unpredictable to live it caged by someone else's comfort. And yet, how many people shrink themselves to fit into the fragile expectations of others? They lower their voices, dull their talents, and abandon their dreams, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of being too much. Fear of being disliked. Fear of disturbing the fragile egos around them. But that's where we go next: how to stop dimming your light to please people who were never meant to hold your fire. We just explored the cost of shrinking yourself for the comfort of others. But let's be honest, peace built on self-denial isn't peace at all. It's quiet destruction dressed as harmony. To live boldly, without apology, is to reclaim your right to exist in full color. It means speaking your truth, even when it unsettles the room. It means standing tall when others would prefer you to bow. And in the Stoic sense, this isn't arrogance. This is alignment. Because boldness doesn't mean being the loudest in the room. It means being the most rooted. It's about knowing who you are and standing in that truth, without asking for permission, without watering yourself down for easier digestion. Because the moment you start shaping your life to please those who thrive on control, you stop being the author of your story. You become a character in theirs. And toxic people? They hate bold souls. Because your courage reflects what they lack. Your freedom reminds them of the prison they've chosen. Your light casts shadows they'd rather not see. But your job is not to dim your brilliance for their comfort. Your job is to rise. To live boldly is to enter every space with the quiet certainty that you belong, not because someone invited you, but because you carry worth within you. It's refusing to apologize for your passion, your intensity, your vision. It's trusting your path even when others laugh at it. Even when they don't understand it. Because they were never meant to. That path wasn't theirs, it was yours all along. And yes, boldness comes with a price. It means standing alone at times. It means choosing growth over validation. It means speaking truth when silence feels safer. It means chasing a vision that may never be approved, but doesn't need to be. The Stoics taught us this powerful principle: we are not disturbed by things, but by our perception of them. So shift your perception of judgment. Let it fuel your steps, not freeze them. Let criticism become evidence that you've stopped hiding. Let discomfort be the proof that you're living in truth. Because the moment you stop apologizing for being yourself, something powerful happens. You start attracting people who value your essence, not your compliance. Living boldly isn't a one-time act. It's a discipline. A daily commitment to honor your joy, your fire, your freedom. And every time you choose it, you step further away from mediocrity and closer to meaning. So speak up. Stand tall. Own your place in this world. You don't owe anyone an apology for existing as your full self. What you owe is the freedom to be exactly that. And when you do, The noise from toxic people fades. It becomes nothing more than silence in your wake. Tactic number 8, surround yourself with resilient allies. Because there will be seasons in life when the darkness seems louder than the light. Not because you're surrounded by enemies, but because you're surrounded by silence. By the absence of support. And in those moments, who stands beside you makes all the difference. Toxic and manipulative people thrive in isolation. They feed on silence, on loneliness, on that heavy emptiness where no one seems to see or hear you. They want you to believe you're alone, unwanted, and unworthy. Because when solitude is paired with weakness, even the strongest minds can begin to doubt their value. But you were never meant to walk this journey alone. Stoicism teaches us that while virtue is personal, strength is often collective. We are responsible for our own peace, but we are fortified by the company we keep. And when it comes to defending your inner world, few things matter more than surrounding yourself with resilient allies. These aren't just people who applaud your victories. Resilient allies are the ones who stand beside you when you fall. They don't flinch when the fire rises. They see your worth even when you've forgotten it yourself. They don't just tell you to keep going, they walk beside you. Step by step. Scar for scar. Their presence becomes your shield. Their wisdom becomes your compass. And their belief in you becomes the light that carries you through even the darkest chapters of your life. But building this kind of circle, it takes discernment. Because not everyone who claps for you is truly for you. Some people only show up to drain your energy, to feed off your struggle, or to subtly dismantle your progress while pretending to support it. And if you keep them close, out of habit, guilt, or fear, you poison your own growth. Sometimes the bravest, most freeing decision you'll ever make is to release the familiar, to let go of the people who feel safe but sabotage your peace. Why? So you can make space for what is genuinely aligned with your evolution. The right people. They will challenge you without trying to control you. They will correct you with love, not with shame. They will see not just who you are, but who you're becoming. But here's a truth you may not expect. To attract resilient allies, you must first become one. Be the kind of person who speaks truth with gentleness. Show up, not just for the celebrations, but for the breakdowns. Be the strength you wish someone had given you. Not by force, not through pride, but through presence. Through integrity. Because strength recognizes strength. And when you live with clarity and conviction, you naturally begin to draw others who carry the same fire. And don't forget, resilient allies aren't always those standing in front of you. Sometimes, they're the quiet mentors whose words you read. Sometimes they're the voices in the dark reminding you to keep going. Sometimes, they're strangers who simply reflect back what you needed to remember. They don't have to be many. But they must be true. And once you find them, once you become one, your journey becomes not just endurable, but transformational. Sometimes, the strongest allies aren't in the room with you. They live in the pages of old books. In the echoes of timeless wisdom. In the stories of those who came before you and endured what you're enduring now. Seek them out. Study their words. Let their scars guide you. Let their strength sharpen your resolve. Because legacy, too, is a form of companionship, it reminds you that you're never truly alone on this path. So take a moment and ask yourself. Who in your circle truly supports your evolution? Who dares to breathe life into your dreams when others remain silent? Who walks with you, not only when it's easy, but when it hurts? And if you find that your circle drains more than it strengthens, maybe it's time to rebuild. Not with noise. Not with numbers. But with depth. With integrity. With those rare few who help you walk through storms unshaken. Because when you're surrounded by resilient allies, you don't just survive adversity, you rise through it. And that is when you become truly untouchable. Let me leave you with this. The path to rising above toxic, manipulative people isn't paved with revenge or rage. It's built from within, with clarity, discipline, and the quiet power of self-respect. It takes courage to stay silent when chaos is shouting for your reaction. It takes strength to set boundaries, and mean them. And it takes wisdom to walk away from manipulation, not because you're weak, but because your peace is worth more than their attention. You don't defeat darkness by becoming it. You overcome it by refusing to feed it. Every tactic you've learned today is a way to reclaim your life. Bit by bit. Breath by breath. You master silence, not to disappear, but to harness strength. You set boundaries, not to shut people out, but to protect your light. You choose boldness, not for validation, but because playing small no longer honors who you are. This is your quiet revolution. You protect your mind. You forgive, but you never forget. You transform negativity into fuel. And you walk with those who see your strength, even when you forget it yourself. You are not here to be controlled. You are here to create, to grow, and to live on your own terms. If this message spoke to you, type "I rise" in the comments. Let that be your quiet declaration. Your first step. Your turning point. And if you want more tools to walk this path with wisdom, feel free to subscribe, but only if it feels right to you. This space is for those who move with intention, who seek not noise, but clarity. You've come this far, not to stop, but to keep rising. And in the next video, we'll go even deeper. Until then, stand tall, guard your peace, and never forget. Your light was never meant to dim just to comfort someone else's darkness.